What's up, boys, and welcome back to the channel. At y'all's encouragement, I finally spent some time in Contractors Showdown Exfil Zone. I am really frustrated with myself for taking so long to try it out. If you're unfamiliar, Contractors Showdown Exfil Zone is a Tarkov clone, a Ghost of Tabor adjacent extraction hardcore tactical shooter in virtual reality. It's available on Quest as well as on PC VR. I have been playing the PC VR version using my Quest 3 and the Quest Link wireless feature, and it's been running great. My overall take on the game is it's absolutely fantastic. It's punching above its weight class. I think it's probably out of the box an overall better experience than Ghost of Tabor. It kind of hurts me to say that because I love Ghosts of Tabor. Ghosts of Tabor is certainly a more mature game and has plenty of content, and I would encourage folks to own it. I think I'm just impressed with Contractors Showdown Exfil Zone because it launched in such a great state. They already had this giant, immersive, gorgeous map that they have modified in order to use it in an extraction game mode. They already had fantastic weapons and weapon interactions, and they have improved those with even more hardcore mechanics. And the overall interactions in the game are just amazing, and the PvP is intense and it's high consequence, and the game just feels like it's been out for a long time, even though it's still in beta, and I'm shocked by how good it is, and it's one that I will continue to play. In this video, I'm just going to take you through kind of my first couple of days in Exfil Zone over the holidays when I've just had a few minutes here and there to play, because I think it gives you a good overview of the new player experience and it shows you some of the things that I find most interesting about it. Let's begin with the overall weapon interactions and manipulations. So they just feel amazing. You can grip the gun in a couple of different ways. There's different hand poses depending on how you're going to rack the slide. You've also got mag palming, so you can do tack swaps and tack reloads with virtually every weapon system. They've got last round hold open on all empty magazines. You can load magazines individually by palming a stack of ammo in your hand and then individually feeding rounds into the magazine. The pistols feel great. The presentation on all of the weapons feels incredible. It feels a lot like Showdown, just a little bit more hardcore. The Scorpion feels awesome. All the SMGs, frankly, feel really good. And you'll be, it'll benefit you to have knowledge of how to operate these guns so that you can use them effectively in the game. So, you need to rack the MP5 before you load it and then send a bolt forward before it operates. The way you throw hand grenades is really cool. It's got the aim assist feature. I hate throwing stuff in VR. It's miserable. They make that a lot easier by just aiming with your offhand, chucking the grenade. It'll generally follow that path. And there's just a ton of options with all the weapons, and they all just feel really, really good. The AKs are really impressive. I love the way that the mags kind of rock into position as you would expect. You've got a couple different hand poses on the bolt as well, so you can rack it like an Iraqi style underneath, reload. You can palm the magazines. You can come over the top and do a traditional rack, and the irons actually feel really good. One of the things in VR is when you're aiming, you get a ton of like shake and whatnot in the controllers. And when the sights are a little bit further forward, like on the AK, it just feels a lot better. Shotguns were really impressive too. You feed the rounds into the tube like you would expect, then you can actually rack these pump action shotguns and fit one more into the breech, which is fantastic. All the bolt guns feel good. You can run the bolt home just like you would expect. And it's just rewarding. I mean, weapon interactions are such a critical part of the VR experience, and they nailed it. And I think maybe this animation of the PK is a great example of that. So it's like, dust cover open, rounds in the feed, or feed tray cover open, rounds on the feed tray, slap the feed tray cover closed, rack it, and let it rip. And then it just works exactly as you would expect. In addition to all these amazing interactions, they've also got quite a few customization opportunities as well. So you can throw optics on the weapons, choose how far forward you want them. You can throw lights and lasers and muzzle devices and grips and everything else. And this all really changes the way that you play the game. These are all features that you kind of expect in an extraction shooter, but something about the way that Contractors Exfil Zone accomplishes them is just really impressive, especially for a game that is just now entering beta. It just feels like it's way, way ahead of the curve, and they're just nailing it. The medical system is essentially a Tarkov clone. It's like a blood point system where each limb has its own pool of HP. If a limb is damaged, you got to inject yourself with HP to get that limb back up to snuff. If you exceed the 100 HP points for that limb, then they bleed over into the others. If you're bleeding, you got to wrap to stop the bleeding. You got to do that first before you restore the HP. And if a leg or an arm is completely blacked out, you can use this staple gun or surgical tool to restore it. Once you restore it, it's still going to be banged up, so you got to pump more HP into it. If your chest or your head dies, then, well, so do you. You've also got pain pills, which will give you a temporary release from some of the side effects of being injured, so you'll, reduce some of the weapon sway and what have you. And for example, if your stomach is like blacked out, as you'll see later, you'll be unable to effectively nourish yourself. So food, water, it's not going to work the same. Speaking of food and water, there's plenty of that as well. So there's a stamina system where you've got to continuously drink. You've got to have energy. So you're, drinking sodas and water and apples and fruit and candy bars and everything else. And you got to really think about how you equip yourself going into a raid, just as you would in Ghost of Tabor or an Escape from Tarkov, in order to be successful. One of the unique features of game design and VR game design specifically that I really appreciated about Contractor's Exfil Zone is this junk box feature. So you've got the opportunity to just store a ton of crap in this box, and it's limited by weight, not by slots. It magically just goes into the box, and you can keep quest items, task items, or just stuff that you want to keep track of in there, and you can sell directly from it. So it just increases the efficiency of your inventory management. As far as the hideout goes, this thing is actually freaking gorgeous. You've got plenty of areas that you would expect in a game like this. You've got a shooting range you can unlock. You've got storage areas. There's traders. There is tasks for each trader. As you complete tasks and sell stuff to specific traders, you will level up your reputation with them. And as you do that, you can buy better and better stuff with them. Your hideout itself has a ton of different stuff in it. There's a shooting range. There's a Bitcoin mine. There's power generation. There's water purification. There's a medical space. Guys, it's just absurd, and you can actually expand this based off of how much stuff you got in that junk box. If you got the right ingredients at any time, you can go in there, use those items to unlock the next space in your hideout. If you go upstairs to the hideout, the entire marketplace is there, so you don't have to instance out and in of your hideout to get to the marketplace as you would in Ghost of Tabor. Instead, you just go up the stairs, and you can see all the traders right there and do all of your shopping and whatnot to equip yourself for raids. They've got a guy that sells a standard westernized AR pattern stuff. They've got a comm block pattern weapon guy. They've got a kit guy. They've got ammo guy, and they've got a medical chick. There's also scav runs in this game, and this is my very first scav run. A scavenger, for those who are unfamiliar with this format, is you're not risking your loot or your contractor PMC when you go do a scavenger run. So here I'm checking out one of the 3 available maps. This one is called Suburbs, where I spent most of my time, and I'm doing it as a scavenger, meaning I'm spawning in the middle of a raid that is already ongoing, and I'm getting just a discount kind of budget kit, using my time to explore the map and start to learn it and get out with some free stuff with pretty low risk. So I do exactly that. Get out with some very basic weapons and equipment, bring them back to my hideout, throw it on the rack, and I'm starting to feel pretty confident, but my time to play on this particular day had elapsed. So I left, came back the very next day, figured I'd jump back into a second scavenger run. This time I was gifted or received or was fortunate enough to get this FAL, so now I've got a hard-hitting battle rifle. First thing I do when I log into these scav raids is make sure everything is set up nicely. So I want this thing on auto. I want to make sure that I had a round in the chamber, so I did exactly that. Then I'm checking my backpack. I see I don't have anything to restore hit points, but I can stop bleeding. I can perform surgery, and I do have a couple other stacks of 7.62 by 5.1. So if I need to top off these FAL mags, I can. And I've also got some hoppy beer, so I have something at least to drink and restore some energy if we get into a fight. I loot my way through the raid, find some stuff, toss it in my bag, and this was my first player encounter. I was still feeling pretty timid, hadn't done any PvP, hadn't even shot my guns yet in a raid, and I noticed a player scav off in the distance. At the time, I wasn't sure whether or not it was a PMC or a scavenger. Turned out, indeed, it was a scav. I managed to avoid this person altogether because I'm still kind of learning the etiquette, whether or not scavs in this game who are playing as players tend to fight or not. In this case, I just avoided this guy altogether, listened very carefully, could hear his footsteps around me, let him pass, and then I just continued my raid, continued looting, and worked my way over towards the Exfil, hitting a couple of buildings on the way. In this case, I did see that a player had come through here and killed some scavs. Because those scavs are dead, my assumption then is that's a player PMC that had come through and shot up the place. But I kind of carefully cleared through the building, didn't end up seeing him at all. Afterwards, grabbed some stuff, rolled out, managed to get over to my extract, and funnily enough, I end up back in the same area for my very first PMC raid coming up next. And after I managed to exfil, I stored all of my gear, but I was pretty happy with this FAL because I know it hits like a truck, and I figure, hey, that's not a terrible thing to take into a raid as a PMC. So sure enough, I come back in for my very first PMC raid. Remember, now if I die, I lose all of my stuff, and the scavs want to kill me. So I see my first couple of scavs here and end up in a fight with these NPCs. Pretty dissatisfied with how long it took to kill that first one. Start trading rounds with this guy. Put him down pretty quickly. Turns out chest and headshots on these guys are pretty effective. gotten through about half a magazine at this point. This is that same kind of farmhouse area that we were in last raid. Using that tactical reload and palming to be able to swap mags quickly and top off without having to take out my backpack. Ended up tagging this dude on the move, but I have taken some damage to my stomach at this point, and I'm still getting shot at as I try to get out of the courtyard. Do get hit in the chest as well, taking that down to 27 hit points. At this point, I'm pretty nervous, because if that chest goes black, then I die. So quickly put some HP back into my body, trying to get the chest back up into the green. Is certainly effective in doing that. Then grab the FAL once again and try to see what hit me. I believe it was a scav, and I'm looking for him now. So successfully put that scav down, but now I've gone through kind of half of both of my magazines. I'm still a little bit beat up, and, you know, I've got my PMC. I'm getting a little bit of gear fear. First time really getting into a fight in the game. So I figure, all right, I'm going to take a short halt over here and start topping off on some of my kit. So I see that this magazine is half full. Find a little tree I can kind of take a knee behind. Listen carefully. I hear some shooting off in the distance. Take a quick peek. Don't see anything. But I know there's a player over there fighting scavs, most likely. Take the opportunity to top off this magazine. And to top off my other. Still shooting, but now the shooting's closer. I know he's coming towards me, but he doesn't know that I'm here. But he's very likely going to that farmhouse. And my worry here is that his approach is basically straight past me to that farmhouse. I know that he's going to be going to that front gate, so I figure I can dogleg off of his approach and post up over here. Out of line of sight, not great cover, but at least something, and give me the opportunity to get a drop on a player if I feel like I have the advantage. Sure enough, after just being over here for just a few seconds, he does exactly what I expected he might do, and I take advantage of the opportunity. And there it is, my boys. First player kill in Contractor's Exfil zone. Felt good. Felt exciting. Adrenaline's high. I was stoked. This guy's actually, like, not super kitted, but certainly well ahead of me. In hindsight, I should have taken that JPC. It was superior to the armor that I had on me, but I did take his sidearm, grabbed his M4, which had a dot on it, and then quickly moved off the X and just got somewhere out of line of sight. I did observe his body for, I don't know, 30 seconds or a minute to make sure he didn't have a partner with him. He didn't. He was a solo. Cross-loaded my bag into his, topped off on food real quick, and then went to move out of the AO in Exfil after my first successful PMC raid. So at this point, you know, managed to fight to my Exfil, managed to kill a player, survived a pretty good scrap with some scavs, and I'm getting confident in my ability to play this game at least okay. Certainly not good, but not full-blown Timmy either. So we get to the Exfil, get out, and I'm feeling a little bit cocky. So we roll back into the next raid with a lot of confidence and feeling pretty aggressive and like I'm looking for a fight. And now I have that guy's gun that I took off of his body, spawned out here in the middle of nowhere. First time being in here, and I see a player running through the open. Figure, why not? We got an optic. We have 5.56. Let's take a knee and take some shots at this guy. I hit him 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times. Have to kind of go back and look closely at it. But nonetheless, he gets to cover, and I have completely sacrificed the element of surprise, and my position is pretty obvious. So stuff the magazine, figure I'm going to post up here, see if he can peek. We might trade some more shots. Not sure how it's going to go, but I'm not going to move out into the open yet. I hear a third party off to the left. I don't know what he's shooting at, but I know he's over there. Decide to peek towards him. And I don't know what's happening here. Like, clearly I'm getting shot at, and I thought it was the third party. But the rounds are kind of coming real close, and I think maybe it's the guy that I shot at initially, and he's kind of just guessing where I'm at based off of the only cover that was in the area whenever I initially opened up. So I start peeking. I'm looking for him. I start to see the rounds impact. So I'm like, okay, I've got a guy on the left, I got a guy to the front. They kind of got me in an L. They could be working together. I'm just going to have to risk it and push. In hindsight, probably shouldn't have initiated to begin with, and probably should have just hung at cover and forced them to move on me if they wanted to kill me. Instead, I figure, screw it, we're pushing this guy. I'm topped off on ammo and ready to go. The third party's still off to my left. I still got one player engaged to the front. Third party guy actually gets around in me, pushes me around the corner, and I end up nose to nose with the original guy. I hit him once or twice. Unfortunately, he hits me in the head with FMJ, ending my run. I'm feeling pretty sad, but I was lucky because the Christmas event had just kicked off, so we have a lovely Christmas tree, some relaxing music. So explore the Christmas event just briefly and go check my stocking to find out that I've been gifted a few stacks of nice 5.45x3.9 ammo. So, you know, 5.45 in the stocking isn't a bad Christmas, so I take that, and then I go ahead and deck out another gun, and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to turn this around. We're going to build a proper kit with a lot of ammo, good optics, a lot of medical supplies, and I'm going to go in responsibly, and I'm going to go complete a task because I really need to start unlocking some more access to these traders and leveling the traders up so I can start getting better gear. So we're going to wear a good kit. We're going to take in, you know, acceptable equipment, and we're going to get after it. Spawn straight into a giant fight with scavs. Top the gun off. Fortunately, haven't been hit yet, but I'm giving away my position, and there's 3 or 4 scavs all over me. Naturally, one manages to take out my stomach completely, and I'm bleeding. So now I'm thinking, man, I gotta stop the bleeding. I gotta treat my stomach. Turns out you can't wrap your stomach, I guess. You have to use something else. But I heard footsteps, so I figured I need to kill that guy first. Now that I feel reasonably safe, I go ahead and inject the HP back into my body, just trying to stabilize the bleeding and top off HP and everything that's banged up. Take out the surgical kit and boom, drop it. And it is nowhere to be found. So now my stomach is destroyed, but the staple gun surgical kit fell through the map and is gone. So I have to go the rest of this raid without the ability to give myself any food and water because the stomach is destroyed. And if I get hit at all, I'm going to take massive damage because that organ's already gone. So I'm bleeding hit points, I'm bleeding food, I'm bleeding water, can't replenish any of it. And I'm thinking, man, I just need to find more medical supplies so I can solve this problem, or I need to extract right away. So I'm running towards the nearest extract, which is available, chugging food and water along the way, which isn't doing hardly anything for me because of the damage to the stomach. And thinking, all right, I'm going straight to the extract, but I can clear through buildings on the way there. If I get lucky and find a staple gun on the way to the extract, then I'll patch myself up and I can continue the raid. I run into the supermarket here looking for a staple gun. Find scavs instead. I'm completely out of drink and taking damage from it. I got 13 left on my stomach. I know at this point I just got to make a mad dash for the extract and hope I get out alive. Unfortunately, I do bump into one more scav as I exit this area. Despite some accurate shots, I just didn't have enough HP to survive that fight. Feeling pretty sorry for myself having lost some great gear. I figure one more scav run before the session's over. Lucked out and ended up with an AK with a drum mag, so lots of ammo, lots of decent ammo. No stock on the AK, unfortunately. And as I'm kind of looting around, I hear some gunfire in the distance. I kind of localized the gunfire and figure that's a player who sounds pretty geared based off the rate of fire, and he's tearing up scavs maybe 100 meters away or even closer than that to me. So I figure, all right, I'm going to let it develop a little bit. I'm going to put myself in a position here on the fence where I can see both left and right. So if I have to bail, I've got cover in either direction. I'm going to keep listening and seeing what he does. So I post up. I did manage to find an M4 while I was looting. So I checked the condition on that guy real quick. I got a full 20-round mag, put it on semi-auto, make sure round's chambered, grab my AK, and now I'm going to start creeping up to where I was hearing that shooting. And sure enough, I'm seeing dead scavs, so I know there's a player in the area, but I'm taking it really slow because based off his rate of fire, it sounded like he was shooting a rifle and he was shooting it fast. Very likely a more geared player just based off how aggressive he was playing. So I'm peeking, nothing yet, and then I hear footsteps. Sure enough, found the geared player, kind of doing exactly what I expected him to do. Managed to catch him off guard and in the open. Kind of a cheap move, but that's kind of the name of the game here. Pretty geared dude. He had an EOTech on an M16, a Gucci backpack that was absolutely stuffed with kit. And so I grabbed that, take it, put all of my stuff in his bag, take my helmet off eventually and throw it on there, because my man was wearing whatever the hell this thing is. It looks legit. It looks special. My assumption is it's valuable. So I throw that on, hang my helmet on the bag, grab the rest of the gear. Then I SSE his body. Again, the mistake I made here is I should have taken his tier 4 armor, but I did grab the meds off of his kit, throw it in the bag, and then we got the hell out of Dodge with a lot of stuff, like a hell of a lot of stuff. Like, you know, a scav Timmy just murdered a chatted out dude, and we're making a break for the Exfil. Running out of food and water, really, really heavily weighed down. We finally managed to get to the Exfil and extract with just a crazy amount of gear. And I was curious how much it was all worth. I wasn't going to sell it. I was going to sort it and keep everything, you know, that was valuable. But just out of curiosity, I did throw it in here and I looked at what I would get if I was to sell it all to a single trader. Turns out it's something like 212,857 credits in a single scav raid. And that has been my experience so far in Contractors Showdown Exfil Zone. The game is phenomenal. I'm going to be putting a significant amount of effort and time into this game. I've never been one to grind and grind and grind in extraction shooters, but because this game is done so extraordinarily well, because there's, you know, tons of opportunity to level up stuff, there's a ton of customization, and most importantly, the interactions with the environment and your weapon systems and your kit are just so good. And for all those reasons, you know, it's really captivated me and it's drawn me in, and I'm going to be spending a good amount of time playing Exfil Zone. I am curious if you guys are going to be doing the same. So please leave your thoughts and your comments down in the comment section below, and I look forward to engaging with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're not yet subscribed to the channel, I'd encourage you to do so. If you're into stuff like this, and I appreciate you guys watching. I'm Controlled Pairs. This has been Contractor Showdown Exfil Zone, and I will see you in the next one.